Hello and welcome back to the Pit Lane, a Formula One podcast where we talk about everything Formula One. I'm your host, Jordan Wynn, alongside my co-host, Alden Kwell. Welcome back after a long hiatus, Alden.
It's good to see you again, Jordan. I'm glad to be back as well. Have you had a good winter so far?
Yeah, it's been good. Hasn't been too cold yet. Just a little bit of snow. Wish we had some for Christmas, though, but get what you get here.
Yeah, my brother in Madison says they got an 11 inches.
What?
And we got nothing. How'd that happen?
Well, we got a little bit of snow. But
A dusting.
yeah, dusting. We got all of our snow in October this year.
Correct.
Well, we'll be doing a recap today of the season, or what we remember of it, at least.
2023.
2023, that's right. But we'll start with some breaking news. Gunther Steiner has been removed as team principal from Haas.
This came as a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
We were not expecting this.
No.
Maybe very few people were expecting it.
Probably only two.
Probably only two. He's out after, I think, 10 years in charge, give or take.
Yeah. Wasn't he? Was he there at the start?
I think he was there at the start.
So almost 10 years. So he was probably hired before they got going.
Correct.
So yeah, probably 10 years.
That's crazy. Some
may say he is Haas.
He kind of, I mean,
More than Gene Haas is.
yeah. Aside from the name, that might actually be true. I think what you really could say is Gunther Steiner was not only the face of Haas, but one of the faces of Formula One.
In the current Formula One,
In the current Formula One. Right. In this era of
Yes.
Formula One, because of his fame from Netflix, I think if you challenge people who are viewers or watch the Netflix series to name Formula One folks, they could probably name like 5 drivers and maybe 2 team principals. And Gunther would probably be one of them.
Yeah. Maybe 3.
Maybe 3, right?
They're probably not talking about Andrea Stella.
No.
So,
But, I'm going to miss him. Hopefully he can land on his feet and do something. He's probably going to be on Sky or
probably.
BBC.
He's got a good personality for that kind of stuff. So,
Yes.
he might be on like the German Sky
Oh, that'd be so
network or
good.
whatever. But yeah, it's bad to see him leave or too bad to see him go, but
He'll
see.
be around.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And his replacement, Ayo Komatsu,
Yeah.
who has
Komatsu.
been around for, I think, about 20 years in Formula One.
Wow. I did not know that. He
Yeah.
looks so young.
I know. I think he's probably like in his 50s. I don't know. 40 years?
Oh, you're
40s?
kidding.
I think 40s.
Oh, my goodness.
I think I heard he came through like the graduate program or something, and
Okay.
with one of the teams, I think BAR they said,
Wow. Okay.
which would make sense. But yeah, he was a race engineer for Roman Grosjean, I think at Lotus.
Oh. Okay.
And then he followed him to Haas. So that's how he got into Haas, because Roman Grosjean moved to Haas, and then I think he followed him there, and he was his race engineer.
I didn't know that history. Well, good for him. He's really climbed the ranks. He's come from the bottom. I mean, he's always seemed like a sure person on the radio.
Yeah.
Steiner leaves some big shoes. Komatsu hopefully can fill them. We won't get the same personality from him, but hopefully he can help correct the ship down at Haas.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because the way Haas kind of runs his team, or sorry, he doesn't really run the team, but his financial backings aren't great. And so they run, they're in 3 different locations, I think. So they have like a design team in Maranello or something. And then they have like their main, fabrication location in the UK.
Okay.
And then their home base is
In America.
in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Right?
Okay.
Because Gene Haas has another race team, NASCAR.
That's right.
I think it's all kind of part of the same shell. So it'll be interesting how it works with Komatsu, if he's just kind of a yes man for Gene Haas, or if he can really make some changes there.
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing here, but what I remember reading in the snippets from Gene Haas was he did not want to be spending money to be in 10th place anymore. And if he's going to be spending the money, I think it's fair to say you expect your team to be not 10th. I mean, there always has to be a 10th team,
Correct.
but it'd be nice to not have them be 10th all the time.
Yeah. Yep. Although it just kind of seems like they're floating in water right now. And not really not paddling very much. So we'll see what comes of it. We won't see any major changes, halfway through the year, probably anyways. I'm sure most of their development is decided unless their new, engineers decide they want to make a different direction.
Right, because what we didn't mention was at the same time, Simona Resta
Yes.
also departed Haas the
Yes.
same day, a couple hours before Gunther Steiner. So it's been some major upheaval over there at Haas.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm not sure who that replacement is, but yeah, see what happens going forward. Again, Gunther Steiner out as team principal at Haas.
Right on.
So let's get into the season recap.
Yeah.
Long season. I think is it tied for the longest season in history?
Certainly
Or
felt
is
the
this-
longest.
Yeah, definitely. 22 races, is that right? With one removed.
Yes. due
So
to
it
the
should have been
flooding.
23. Yep, at Imola. Or Imola, sorry. But yeah, let's start with a little season recap with Red Bull here. Clearly a dominant team with Max. He won 2 out of the first 4 races and didn't look back.
Won
after
every
that.
single one after that, except for Singapore.
Except Singapore. Yeah, Max dominates the entire season just about. Wasn't on pole at every race, but he didn't have to be. He had the best car. He's the most in tune with his car. There were a lot of variable condition races he had to go through. I remember a lot of wet races early on in the season.
Yep.
But yeah, they made all the right calls. He clearly drove brilliantly, made all the decisions he needed to, and won the title by more than double the points over his teammate.
Resounding.
Yeah.
That is, it's when you say it like that, that's pretty insane. He did dominate the entire season. He knew exactly what he needed to do to win. He doesn't accept failure from himself or
His team.
his team. And I don't think you can really critique Max's driving this season whatsoever.
No.
Perhaps aggressive, but I wouldn't necessarily dwell on that too much. I think it's
Yeah.
par for the course these days.
Yep. I think that's kind of how it's been last few years anyways. But yeah, par for the course, dominant fashion. His teammate on the other hand, he also won 2 out of the first 4 races. And then Miami was kind of his downfall.
Yeah.
I believe he qualified on pole that race.
With
Max
Max
was in the back
9th or
somewhere.
10th?
Yeah, I can't remember where he started. And just got obliterated by Max anyways.
Yeah.
Got beat.
Like
bad.
lap 17.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. It was like 25.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Doesn't matter.
matter.
He was beat. And he kind of lost a lot of confidence after that.
Yeah.
To be fair, he did still finish second in the championship. So how much did he really flounder per se? Due to the expectations of what Max was doing week in, week out.
Right. If your teammate finishes first, the next best position for you is second. There's not anything higher than second. You could win some more races.
Yes.
And I think it would be difficult to say he should have won any race because Max won them. And both Red Bull cars were not looking good in Singapore. So I think if you look at it from a season, Checo did everything he needed to do. For Red Bull
Yes.
and for the team. For himself, he didn't, obviously. He would, of course, expect to win more races, and he wants to challenge Max.
Yeah. He would like to challenge for championship, but when you clearly struggled, he had a lot of qualifying issues, but race days normally went fairly well for him. He would, make his way through the field, maybe not finish second. I mean, he didn't a lot of the time, but he made it through the field and got point scoring finishes. Ended up second in the championship. Like you're saying, as a team, what more can you ask for?
Right.
Yeah. So right now he's keeping his spot for Red Bull, but we can talk about that.
Yeah, great
a little
segue.
bit later.
Even though he was second for almost all the year, there were times where he
I think Hamilton
wasn't.
moved up I don't even know if he did.
Well, I mean, surely he was either first or second after the first 4 races. If he
Right.
wanted
So
to.
I don't think Hamilton ever really passed
But
him.
maybe Hamilton did for a bit. There might have been a couple DNFs for Checo. If he did, it wasn't for long.
No.
But that didn't stop the rumors that there would be a Checo replacement either mid-season or even for 2024.
Yeah.
And we've heard these rumors running before with Red Bull, right?
Right.
Remember Gasly being replaced, the rumors about him on the hot seat.
Yep.
Same thing with Albon.
At least with Albon, they waited till the end of the season.
At least they had the courtesy to wait to the end of the season, but that didn't stop the rumors this year with Checo.
Right.
And
It was endless. And you felt bad for him too, because
right, he had his home race coming up.
yeah. And even that got overshadowed.
Yeah. Well, he did that himself.
Yeah, he did. But we can get into that a little bit later
Right.
once we get into AlphaTauri here.
That.
Mercedes up and down season. I think they started out a little bit on the back foot just because of Aston Martin's upstart they had at the beginning of
Yeah.
the season. Ended up second in the championship. Hamilton ended up third in the championship.
for the drivers.
Yes, sorry, drivers' championship. Russell, I think, was like sixth.
Yeah, he took a step back this year from last, but
Yeah, and he wasn't close to Hamilton
No.
at all, points-wise, at least.
they had a mid-year change of concept on their car. Obviously, what they tried last year and in the beginning part of this year just didn't work at all.
Yeah, the Brazil last year really caught them off guard with Russell winning that race.
Right.
And
that
I
was
think,
the only
yeah,
race that they performed at all last year.
yeah. And they were like, oh, maybe we did find something in this car. And that kind of kept them thinking, oh, we'll keep this for another year and see if we can tweak it.
Didn't work.
Didn't work. So yeah, up and down season for Mercedes. They had one big chance in Singapore. You know, Singapore is the one outlier in this entire season. Russell binned it pretty bad.
Yep. Yeah, he was in third, and he was chasing Norris,
Yeah.
who was chasing Sainz. You know,
That way, yeah.
could he have passed? If he had passed Norris, could he have passed Sainz? Maybe not.
Yeah, he would have if he had the time, if there was enough laps left.
Right,
But
yeah.
the way Sainz was playing that, he played it picture perfect.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, it definitely felt like another year of humbling for Mercedes,
Yep.
another year of learning about their car, the new regulations. They have so much catching up to do. Remember, they were second and Max beat them by himself. You got a lot of work to do to catch up. And a change of concept is not going to be the only thing. Like you have so much to claw back.
Yeah.
They got a lot of work.
They're changing their concept next year, right? As we talked about. And then, yeah, they got to hope that they get it right enough where they can tweak it, bring some upgrades, and hopefully be competitive with Red Bull, which I don't know if anybody at this point is that hopeful. I think we all are as fans are hopeful,
Right.
especially with the Max Red Bull. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, Mercedes with a lot of work to do going into next season. Aston Martin, like we said, great start of the year.
That they
Changed
did.
their entire car.
I remember in the first race of the year at Bahrain, Alonso passing Hamilton on the inside into that tricky 8-9 corner or 9-10. I think it turns 8-9.
Yeah, after the straight.
Before the back
yes,
straight.
sorry, yes,
And it was just like, wow, the Aston Martin powered by a Mercedes, driven by Fernando Alonso, passing Lewis Hamilton
In a Mercedes.
in a Mercedes with, first race of the year. That was, I just knew, I think I remember the image of the camera panning to Toto and his just seething stare at the screen.
Nothing he could do.
Nothing you can do. Car stinks. Anyway, that was a great moment for Aston Martin.
Oh, yeah, and it felt like this is vintage Alonso. He's
Right?
back.
He's
Here
back.
we go. Felt like there was something great on the horizon.
And there was, I mean, for a good long while, he had what, like, I don't know how many podiums he had this year.
had like 8 or 9?
Yeah, a lot. So Aston Martin had a good season, I think, at the beginning of the year or even before this last season. If you had asked them what would you have considered successful, they would have probably considered a top half finish.
Yep.
They ran second and third for a long time of the season. Lance Stroll did as much as he could.
Let's not forget, he broke his hand at the beginning of the season. His
right.
wrist.
That's right. At the first race of the season, he was like in visible pain. He could hardly turn the wheel.
Yeah, he was resting his hand up on the dash
I
or
forgot
on top
about
of his
that.
steering wheel. Yeah. Yeah, he
Lance
didn't
Stroll.
do testing.
That's right. And the year before, it was Alonso. Yeah, two
Yep.
broken hand drivers.
Cycling.
Yeah,
I think we talked about
we
this.
did. Yeah. But yeah, that was crazy. I forgot about that. Wow. Well, what a great year for him. I think given the start of the season, you could look at where they ended and think, oh man, not quite the best. But if at the beginning of the season before it all started, you had told them that they would be getting multiple podiums,
And finishing fourth?
finishing
Yeah, fourth.
or
fifth.
Fifth.
In the end. Behind McLaren and Ferrari.
Yep.
Yeah, so fifth. And I think they were seventh last year. Is that right? They were behind Alpine?
Yeah, that's right. They've come so far, and I think they've got momentum to next year. They know they got a strong, solid foundation for the car.
They know they have a strong, solid car.
Correct.
Unlike a couple other teams.
Correct. Who are faking it.
Yes. So yeah, they had a great start, tailed off toward the end of the season, just because of everybody else had great updates throughout the season, notable McLaren. And yeah, they got a little bit back. I think at Brazil, they had a great weekend.
Yeah, they had a good weekend at Brazil.
Our last 2 weeks in a row, I think they did. I think it was that in Vegas or something. Yeah, had a great finish to the season also. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens next year for them. We can get into Ferrari, which
Right.
somehow isn't on my note list, but
Well, I think that's because they had a bit of a forgettable season.
what's new?
What's new? I don't know. What do you want to say about Ferrari?
P3 in the championship. I think Charles Leclerc beat Sainz this year. I think
yes,
so.
But
Just
they were
barely.
almost like at the
Yeah.
same amount of points.
Yeah, they were the only non-Red Bull winner of the season at Singapore, with Carlos Sainz winning that race. And Leclerc was kind of a sacrificial lamb based on his qualifying position that weekend. But yeah, they kind of had a classic Ferrari year, kind of up and down. A lot of strategic calls that kind of didn't go their way, whether or not it was, a pit wall decision or driver decision. I don't know if they had they did have a couple major technical issues. Charles Leclerc not starting on the grid.
Yeah,
Once.
in Brazil.
And somebody's couple engine blows, or
Carlos
Sainz
Sainz
had one.
that really unfortunate incident in Las Vegas. That's not their fault.
Yep, drain cover.
Yeah. Did it look like they were going to perform at Monza? They did have a strong car in Monza.
They did. Yep.
And it looked like they were coming through finally. It looked like they had some updates or something was going to happen. Maybe it was just the magic of the weekend, or I think what we ended up finding out was that in low downforce situations, that car is just really strong.
Yes.
For whatever reason.
Yep. Oh, I think they brought specific updates to Monza.
But it was like the tires didn't die on them
as quickly.
because that seems to be a characteristic. They have great one lap, single lap pace.
Mm-hmm.
Charles is qualifying on pole for half the season.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they get to the race and Charles is passed on like lap 2
because of tire wear.
Because of tire wear. And somehow in Monza they did really well. And they had kind of like a start-stop season. Couldn't really find their feet. They had a minor change of concept. It sounds like they're going to change their concept again going into next year.
Yep.
Did they have any personnel changes? No. I mean, Laurent Maquis left.
Yes.
To go to AlphaTauri 3.0.
Yes. Whatever that name's going to be
called.
Racing Bulls.
Racing.
Maybe.
Is Taro Rosso until it's not.
That's right.
And so we'll see what that sort of impact that has. They're going to retain the 2 drivers. They got Fred Vasseur.
I think that was his first year there this year, right?
Yeah. We'll see how they do going into 2 years. They have to improve.
They had a good back half of the season, last few races at least. With that Vegas race, Charles almost pulled that off.
He did
as well.
Is that enough? You're Ferrari.
Sure.
You have to be
It's
challenging.
not. It's not
Right.
enough. But they also haven't won a title since Kimi won a title in his first stint at Ferrari.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
That's how long ago that's been. 16 years-ish? 17? 2007?
17 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, 2007 season, right?
Yeah.
So 16 F1 season.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah,
They should be challenging for the front.
for sure.
They're a team that gets the most money from F1. They have the biggest brand. They can attract the best drivers and the best talent,
Yep.
the best sponsors. They have 2 home races a year.
Yeah.
They should be challenging for first
Correct.
at every race, every season.
I think I saw that Max has more wins than Ferrari does since Kimi's title year.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that's absurd.
That's
I mean, he did win 19 races this year. So, yeah. But Ferrari needs to be challenging, like you're saying, for wins and championship titles.
Yeah. Not podiums, not just points. Every single race, they need that killer instinct. They need that killer mentality, and they just don't have that right now. There was something special about the last group, or the group that was there from the beginning of Michael's period through Kimi, and even with Alonso was there. He had that killer instinct. He may not have been a great team player for a lot of the other people there, but they just lost that pizzazz that Ferrari had as a team. And to be fair, so many other teams just got better.
Yeah.
Right. Like Red Bull won 4 seasons on the trot, and then Mercedes won 5.
6,
was it?
7.
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
Seven.
Well, 6. Hamilton had one before.
Yeah, he has 7 titles now.
Yeah.
Rosberg won.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so 7 on the trot, and then 2 now.
And Ferrari was second or third in every single one of those.
Yeah, well, I think they were second, just about
Was
all
there
of them.
Red Bull second once? I can't remember. Maybe Daniel Ricciardo was second or
he
third.
had a few wins
Right.
one of the years. So I think he's got, 8 total? But yeah, Ferrari needs to be challenging for championships.
They need to improve.
And I know we can see that probably next year too. So
There's always next year.
we'll keep this snippet and cut and paste for next year. Hopefully not, but let's move on. McLaren.
Yeah, let's talk about McLaren.
McLaren had an interesting year. At their launch, I believe they knew that their car coming out was, lack of a better word, garbage. And they would bring updates as soon as they can, which
They were talking about
was Austria.
updates before the car even hit the pavement.
Yeah. Yeah. It was spinning on their little, turnstile in their HQ or whatever that was. And they brought a huge update to Austria
Yep.
and didn't look back from there.
No.
They were literally last place in the standings, ended up 4th in the championship.
It's like they let everyone else start and then tried to see how quickly they could catch up to everyone by their 4th lap.
Yes. And they just waited.
And they just waited. Yeah. I think that speaks to the strength of the drivers, the team structure, and the new technical team that took over after some folks were kindly shown the
Let
door.
go.
That team really turned it on. They've got something magical going on. They've got 2 of the best, most exciting drivers,
Young, too.
young drivers. Lando Norris is consistently good, almost looking better every single year.
Yep.
Lots of talent comes up from the junior circuits. They come up and they seem to plateau. They maybe show some flashes of brilliance, but Lando Norris has consistently performed throughout the seasons, and he just looks like he's getting better. And I think that's a really good sign for McLaren and for, if you're for the Lando fans, but Piastri is looking just as good. He was a rookie last year.
Yeah,
And he finished what? 7th?
He was the other only driver to win some sort of F1 race last year.
Oh,
He won a sprint race.
Yeah.
But he held Max off to do it. His downfall is the tires, which is usually, the big learning curve into F1 as it is learning the tires and limitations and tire management, which is a big part of the sport now. So
He did finish 9th in the season standings.
yeah. So, he was a little ways away from Lando, but as a rookie, I think he has the 2nd or 3rd most points ever as a rookie based on current point system. If you were to update everybody's,
Sure.
only behind Lewis Hamilton's almost championship rookie season. But yeah, so they clearly have something going there, something cooking. They know their car's good.
And he finished with 2 podiums too.
Yeah, so we can keep, bring more updates next year. Beginning of the season, see Piastri can make another step with tire management. See if Lando can kind of get rid of his Q3 here and there issues. I mean, it's not all the time, but, he has a few times where he's got track limits or just can't get a lap together. But yeah, good season for McLaren in the end. It's a great finish for them. So hopefully we can keep that momentum going if there's such a thing as momentum.
We need to see the momentum. They need to come next year here in 2024 later this winter with a strong car in Bahrain and testing, and they need to hit the ground running.
Yep.
They can't do this start from last place, finish in 4th again. They need to start the season really strong.
Keep the progress going. Alpine, not much to say here. P6 in the championship. They were miles away from Aston Martin in 5th place, and they were miles away from Williams in 7th place. I believe each of their drivers, Ocon and Gasly, had a podium this year. I think 2 third places for them.
Okay.
Other than that, who's Alpine?
Actually, for real, who is Alpine? Have they released another car yet? I don't know. I've only seen one car from them. But I think for real, this is going to be another joke, but Alpine had the most Ferrari-like season. They fired their boss mid-season. The entire upper management imploded.
Yeah.
It's so long ago, but it actually wasn't so long ago. They fired their team principal in Belgium.
And they fired him before Belgium,
And
after Belgium.
right.
So they let him
perform his
Belgium.
job and then promptly let him go before the middle of the season.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. Kind of What are they doing? What are they trying to do? Do they want to race in F1? I think is a legit question. Do you actually want to do this? And then all of the publicity they had was for celebrity investors.
Yeah.
All the positive publicity they had.
Celebrity investors. You're
Ryan
right.
Reynolds.
We talked about
We
it.
talked about it.
Yeah.
You know, like Michael B. Jordan buying part of Alpine. Meanwhile, your team is nowhere. Your car is the best of the worst or the worst of the best because you're in no man's land.
No, I think at the end of the season, I can't remember, they let somebody go or some people. I don't know. I can't remember.
Just let more people go.
Yeah. And then the next day, they had a driver photo shoot with Zidane.
Zinedine Zidane?
You're sorry. Yes. Yeah. Zidane Zidane.
Oh, no.
That's it. Yeah. And everyone's like, what? So clearly you don't care. Like this is the news you want to bring. This is like your reputation. Yeah. We just laid out a bunch of people, but here's pictures of with more celebrities and like, you know, trying to get their brand going of Alpine as, you know, like I said, how many cars have you seen? I think I can name one only because I've seen it with pictures with the drivers. Like actually,
Seriously.
like you're saying, I don't know if they want to be there. The rental group, I don't know if they have a foot in the door, foot out the door. Feels like both almost, and that's where it's confusing. It's like some people want it, some people don't want it. I don't know, and I don't know if I care either, to be honest.
I mean,
Right now, it
There's
feels that way.
right.
They make you feel like you don't care about them because
what
you
do
don't
they do?
see them.
You're right.
Yeah, they're
And-
nowhere.
They fight with each other.
Yeah.
The internal politicking at that place must be more intense than actual Game of Thrones.
Oh, they couldn't have picked a better driver lineup for it either.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it.
It's already like this, and then you pair Ocon and Gasly, who already didn't like each other, or their families at least didn't, you know, from karting growing up and all this other stuff. So none of it makes sense. The politics doesn't make sense. Driver pairing, you know, they're both fairly decent drivers. They're competent.
Yeah.
They do a good job with a good car.
They're both good.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But how can you have already internal team? Well, I can't talk. Internal turmoil, and then create more, by adding drivers that already have tiffs with each other, firing your team principal midseason along with other people, and just
And like the Laurent Rossi got fired, the guy who leads the entire
Yes,
project from
yes,
up above.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
He's gone.
I don't understand it.
Thought experiment. Would there be even more drama surrounding the Alpine team if they were actually good? Like if they had a really strong
Yes.
car, would it just come out more and then they would struggle and then it would implode more?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Because the drivers would fight more.
of course. Like Hamilton, Rosberg, circa 2016.
Yes, exactly.
That's exactly what would happen.
Yeah, and no questions asked.
So
and it
I-
might be worse
It might be worse.
because they liked each other when they started,
That's right.
and things just progressed poorly after that.
So we're hoping for an Alpine strong car in 2024. That's what we want to see.
But not too strong, just strong enough for a turn.
No. The strongest car to start, and then just watch the team implode by like race 5.
And finish P6 in the
Yes,
championship.
exactly where they belong. All right. Jokes aside, I think there's a lot of good people over at Alpine. We do really wish them the best.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we do want to see them do well. We always want competitive teams. It's just the season for them. It
Not
just
great.
felt like they were in the middle of nowhere, which in the standings they kind of are, and that's just representative of the season that they had.
Yep. Well said.
Williams, Albon, great year. Team finished P7 in the championship. Albon had an excellent year for Williams.
Yep. Scoring all but one of their points.
Yes.
Yep.
He brought them back from the dead. It feels like his status has skyrocketed.
Hugely.
He's going to be a hot commodity. I think his contract's up next year or this
At the end of this season, I think.
end of 2024. So we'll see what happens there. See if Williams can hold on to him or if there's some other openings available. I don't know if he's still technically a Red Bull
is
driver. Not anymore.
Not
It was just the
anymore.
one season.
Correct. He got out of it between this
22,
previous one and
23.
this one. Yeah, I think.
Okay.
He's a great driver. I've always felt that way. I thought he was a great driver at Red Bull and AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso or whatever it was at the time. He's done really well at Williams. He's got his head on straight. He seems to really gel with that team, with the expectations of him in that team, and with James Vowles, his team principal. He's dominating his teammate. And I don't think that is necessarily representative of Logan Sargent being a poor driver. I think it goes to speak about how good Logan Sargent is, or how good Albon is.
Yeah.
Apologies. But at the same time, if we shift the conversation over to Logan, we saw what Albon was able to do, and Logan just wasn't able to match that
At all.
Certainly over the course of the season, he had moments where he was better. He had moments, and then honestly, those were few and far between because Albon outqualified him every single race of the year.
Yep.
Logan did have some moments where he was on pace, equal or close with Albon. Like I think, remember Saudi Arabia and Jeddah.
There were a couple. Yeah, he had some track limits issues, I think,
Right.
and a few. I mean, he did have his crashes, which is a big issue in Formula One now, cost cap. But
It is.
track limits, I think, caught him out when he had really good laps. And they were all close. Like none of it was extreme. Like, oh, he clearly cut this corner, so that's where he got that time from. It was those minuscule, centimeters of, oh yeah, he went over the lines, and this is where we're at in Formula One now. But yeah, like you said, he had his moments. It shows how great Albon is currently in his form. My personal opinion, I hope he stays there because I think it feels like he can drag that team upwards.
Yeah.
And help them hopefully get back, to where they were, the promised land days of winning titles, which, we were all aware they're a ways off. But it'd be fun to see, Albon drag them up and compete.
I think the partnership of Vowles and Albon could be something that's good for the future. They both know what they're doing, and I think 2024 will be a good year to really show us how good Vowles is as a team principal and how good Albon is as a driver. The feedback he's provided to the team, the ability for them to design a car based on what Albon and Logan have said it was needed, and if they can actually put that into a real physical mechanical machine and get that puppy going.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to Williams. Hopefully they're able to improve. I mean, obviously not everyone can improve. We keep saying we hope everyone improves, but
yeah. But I feel like we really hope in this case.
In this case, I think we both really want to see Williams improve.
Probably more than a lot of the other teams. This
Correct.
is one that we want to see happen. And we touched on Logan Sargent briefly. Tough season for him. Got 1 point.
Yep.
But got a point.
1 point is not zero. So that's actually, he's renewed for 2024. Let's see how he does. He's the only American driver up there, so he's our representative. We love him.
Yep.
So actually wishing him the best. Hopefully they can both score some big points next year.
Moving to AlphaTauri.
Or whatever they're called.
Yeah, we're not sure now. But interesting year for them. Nick DeVries started the year. He did not finish the year. He did not make it to the summer break.
No. So who'd they bring back, Jordan?
Daniel Ricciardo.
That's right. He was their reserve. Actually, Daniel Ricciardo was the publicity driver more than anything.
But he was Red Bull's third driver.
Red Bull's third driver, test driver for Red Bull, and simulating your driver.
Yes, for Red Bull.
For Red Bull. And he seemed like the logical. No, wait, what happened?
Silverstone.
Tell the story. Yes.
So I'm kind of skipping forward here, but Silverstone happens. Going into that weekend, there's a Pirelli tire test happening
on the Monday.
On the Monday or Tuesday. Monday.
After the race.
After the race, correct. And Daniel Ricciardo has been asked to do the tire test.
For Red
Bull in the RB19, in the current car.
Yeah.
I was actually listening to a podcast. I can't remember what it's called. I apologize. But they interviewed Ricciardo about the season, kind of what happened, blah, blah, blah. So he's talking about the tire test that happens. He says he spins a couple times on their first stint. He's first time he's driven an F1 car since the McLaren, I believe, in 2022. Spins a couple times, bring back in, all right.
No, last year.
Yeah, 2022. It's last year.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Wow.
Yeah, I know. That's what happens when you take some time off. They're going to do a little field run. They're basically going to do a qualifying lap, new set of tires, and go. Nails the lap. He's within, I think they said, a few hundredths of Max Verstappen's pole time 2 days earlier in the same car.
Huge.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't know tire temps, or sorry, track temperatures.
We don't know fuel
conditions,
levels. Right.
wind.
But no matter which way you cut it,
You're on the front row.
you're right there.
Yes. And I think seconds later, I knew he's on the phone. Like, oh my gosh, we got to get him in. AlphaTauri, call friends.
Yeah.
Replace Nick DeVries.
Done. Dusted.
Happens a week later.
Yeah.
He's in at what, Budapest, I think, was his first race.
Yep.
And he out-qualifies Yuki.
Yep.
Budapest.
It was insane.
Like, and he had never driven that car before that weekend.
Never. Just looked at it.
Yeah.
Probably drove it in the simulator.
No, he might have the week of that week.
Yeah.
But yeah, physically had never touched the car.
He has no idea what he's doing.
So Ricardo comes in, breaks his wrist. I think two races later.
Right. In the Netherlands, breaks his wrist.
After the summer break, he ends up, I think, highlight for him, P4 in qualifying in Mexico. And I think ends up P7 of the race, gets good points for them.
Yep, that's right. Kind of gets outshined by Yuki after Japan a little bit. I mean, aside from Mexico, but like
Austin, I think Yuki had a really good race and Ricardo didn't.
Yuki had a great race in Brazil. I think we were talking about Yuki in Brazil. And then Yuki also had a good last race in Abu Dhabi.
Correct.
So I don't remember Ricardo doing he racing with a healing wrist. Lawson, who we have to touch on Lawson, who comes in to replace Ricardo.
Yes, he also scored points. I think he had like 4 points in the season or something.
For a time there.
4 races.
He had the second most points for AlphaTauri.
Yeah, which is crazy. But so Lawson handled the car very well, did everything he needed to do to keep himself in conversations for a drive at some point. He comes back next year as the third driver for AlphaTauri, I think, and maybe Red Bull. I'm not sure how all that works. Yuki has a good season in the end overall. They end up P8 in the championship, just behind Williams. But yeah, crazy year. And we can kind of go back to the Checo conversation of, will Checo get replaced partway through the year next year? It's kind of the rumors happening is Ricardo in line for it? That's why they kind of brought him back to see what he has left now. See what happens next year. But I guess something to contemplate.
We should mention that Checo's contract runs out at the end of 2024.
Correct. Yes.
So they could choose not to renew him.
And it wouldn't cost them.
Right. And then they just bring in Daniel or maybe Yuki if he has a shining season, or perhaps they look elsewhere again.
Yeah, which I doubt.
I think they've come to realize that perhaps the only available driver who can compete with Max is Daniel.
Is someone that's done it before.
Who's done it before.
And isn't afraid.
Right. You can talk about Lewis, you could talk about Charles, you could talk about Lando, Carlos or Lando, but at the end of the day, the only person who can compete with Max is someone who did it. And if we it's been a long time. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But I think you and I both remember that the last season Daniel was there, he actually couldn't compete with Max.
I don't know if you want to say couldn't. I think, that was the last year with the Renault engines, or second to last year. And I believe he had 6 or 7 DNFs due to mechanical failures.
Yeah.
So, and not that Max didn't have some either, but I remember Ricardo's back half of the season was just plagued with engine failures and engine issues from the Renault, and it was just nonstop. And it was when we went to the Austin race too.
Yep.
Engine failure. Getting on the back straightaway.
Yeah, yeah.
And you just felt so bad. You're like, oh, not again. And I think he was running second or third. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, at least someone that's done it before, someone that's not going to get rattled, I don't think as easily just because he gets beat by his teammate. Obviously, he had a tough year in McLaren, but I think that was more due to him and the confidence with the car versus Lando beating him, if that makes sense. I guess that's just my opinion. I guess I'm not sure technically, what he thinks on that, but yeah, it should be interesting to see Red Bull and Toro Rosso going forward.
Whatever they're called, yeah. Because now I believe they have a new team principal. And they are going to use every legal available component from the Red Bull car in their car.
Correct.
Without having to design extra bits, without having to, or unnecessary parts that they're allowed to use legally, they will use, and they will design the rest of the car based around those parts. Where in the previous years, they have designed parts of their own and gone, that's not going to work for us because we are going with a different concept. So we'll see how they do. Maybe they improve. Maybe it takes a year for them to get running with this new concept or this new idea, this new philosophy.
Well, they've done it in the past. It's just with the new regulations, they really decided to break away, quote unquote, break away from Red Bull and be a sister team instead of a subsidiary, let's say. So yeah, they are going back to that type of platform or strategic alliance, let's say.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. So they've got a strong lineup going into next year, Ricciardo and Yuki. We talked about Yuki a little bit. He seemed to really mature this year.
Yeah, he had a good season overall. Front half was strong in a bad car. I think he had a bunch of 11 plate finishes.
Yes, he did. He had a very strong race in Japan and Brazil, like we said. He had some
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi. He actually, he was nearly able to single-handedly get AlphaTauri ahead of Williams.
Yep.
Wasn't quite enough at the end of the day. He had a good race. He had a good season. He no longer feels like the wild card he was earlier.
Right.
In his career. Hopefully without France there, he's able to continue this maturity and his growth as a driver, because he's clearly talented, right? Like, you don't just stumble into F1. He's clearly earned the right to be there. And I'm looking forward to seeing him this year.
And I hope that Red Bull hasn't already made their decision, which maybe they have.
Right.
Bringing back Ricciardo, and I don't know, maybe they are thinking about holding on to Checo, but I hope they haven't made that decision already, because I think Yuki does deserve a shot. Whether or not they want to have another young driver paired with Max, I don't know, from a confidence standpoint, but you got to at least give the guy a look and see how he does.
Right. Let's talk about Alfa Romeo, who finished
Sauber. Steak
kick.
Steak.
Alfa
Sauber, a Formula One race team organization.
Alfa Romeo, as they were known in 2023.
Yes.
Didn't have a very good season. Didn't have any bright spots really to speak of. They scored points throughout the season, but not enough, and not really in any significant amount.
8, 9, 10s.
8, 9, yeah. A lot of exit Q1, a lot of pit early, a lot of multiple pit stops, not a lot of good upgrades. They just did not look strong, aside from the livery in Monza.
Yes.
They looked really good then.
Yes, they did.
For different reasons.
I mean, to be fair, the car was bad from a driver's standpoint. Car was bad.
Yeah.
I think Bottas had a couple good qualifying sessions where he did get into Q3. But, race pace on that car was bad. And they just get nothing to show for it. Ended up P9th in the championship. Zhou, I don't think, had a great year. I think he was okay. But again, there's nothing you can do when your car's not good, right?
Yeah, what are you supposed to do,
I mean, that's not great. Not great. It kind of felt like they were forgotten. They were not, for some reason, didn't feel like they're as forgotten as Alpine was. But
probably had an equal amount of screen time.
Yeah, they had a tough year for them. They're in limbo for 2 years until Audi decides to take over majority stake in Sauber.
They will have a majority stake going into this. No.
I
think they'll have 50% this year.
They're minority this year. I don't think it's until they're majority they're putting their name on it.
Okay.
And I think that's 2026. And that's where I think stake comes in to be the sponsor, the main sponsor for the team until Audi takes over. And I believe that's 2 years. Stake is a gambling website. So in the countries where they're not allowed to show gambling on TV or whatever, they're going to have, Kick? Kick is going to be the name that they'll have on the car and be called over the airwaves and stuff. So, yeah, it'll be a little bit confusing throughout the season, but we'll know because I think they'll have a green and black and white livery is what it seems like, because I think Stake's green.
Or Kick is the website.
Sorry. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with them. But yeah, I think they're just kind of sitting around and twiddling their thumbs with waiting for Audi to come in. We'll see what happens. You'd think that Audi wouldn't want to take more of a control over this if they want to have a good product in 2026, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're definitely not wrong.
Especially as a big manufacturer.
You're going to put your name on a car that's going to be like
a luxury brand. You want to be sitting at the back of the field behind, I don't know, maybe Haas, machine company. So we'll see what happens with them. For next year, Bottas and Zhou are back.
Yep.
But yeah, their direction is kind of lost too. So we'll see what happens. Another small team, but see what they can do next year. It just feels like they're treading water like a couple of these other teams until somebody else comes in to do something about it.
Agreed. Yeah. There's a lot of room for improvement, let's just say. There's only one team that's worse than them last year in 2023. So there's a lot of improvement. They know what can be done because they see other teams doing it. They just need to do it themselves.
And they actually had a good car at the beginning of the regulations in 2022.
Because they were the only ones underweight.
No, they were the only one at weight.
At weight, right.
They weren't cheating.
Correct.
They were the only ones at weight. Everybody else was over.
That's right.
But yeah, see what happens with them. And we can transition it to Haas, which we kind of touched on earlier with the Gunther Steiner news.
I don't hate their drivers. I like Nico Hülkenberg. Gunther Steiner's a great personality. They just did not have a good year at all.
No, car was quick over one lap.
Actually, yeah, they
At
did
some
qualify
places.
really well.
Yeah, there were a number of Q3 appearances. And that thing just tire dag. I don't know if they're borrowing too many designs from Ferrari or what. But clearly, it's not working in that case. They tried one major aero update in Austin. That backfired. It's a whole concept issue, and that needs to be relooked at. But
and for them, literally, they can only go up.
Yeah, they can get less points.
They could get fewer points,
and that would probably help them because it's less of an entry fee for next year.
Gene's trying to save some money.
He's playing the long game. 40 chess.
Just literally getting paid to be an F1.
That basically right now, yeah.
All right. So do you have like a top 5 drivers from the season from 2023 as a whole?
Sure. I think Max is the obvious number one.
Okay.
You win 19 races out of 22.
We share that. Both number one. Max for both of us.
What else is there to talk about there? Expectations, I think, plays a big part in this.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to say Alonso is my number 2.
Same.
Partially because I love Fernando, and partially because he had a really good year.
He had a great year.
Especially compared to his teammate.
Yes.
Podiums all over the place. Started off strong. Love to see him happy. He's high-fiving Max left and right. You know, it's great. Everybody's having fun. He's battling Hamilton. He's passing Hamilton. It's fun to watch. Bring that rivalry back. But yeah, that's my number 2.
Okay. So we literally have the same number 1 and number 2 so far.
Ooh, okay. See if we can keep this going. Number 3, if we're looking at expectations, well, I guess it depends what your expectations are too. I want to say, I'll go with Lewis. I want to say Charles, but I want to go with Lewis. He did finish 3rd in the championship.
In a pretty bad car.
In a bad car. Well, to their standards, right?
Yeah.
Dominated George. Had a very good season. I think qualifying, they're pretty even, but he's still, way more points.
Points accumulation.
Had a really good season. Event like on paper, 3rd place, a bunch of podiums as well. But he's ready to scrap that car. Yeah, good season for him. What do you have?
Yeah,
Albon?
in my head, no, not Albon, not yet. I've been sort of changing my mind between my third and fourth, and I think I will put Lewis third. I think you touched on some things. He just turned 39, so he was 38 this season.
Yeah.
Him and Alonso, the two oldest guys out there, just racking up points,
Podiums, dueling.
showing like if you literally take Max out, Checo wins, right? But aside from that, Lewis and Alonso are kicking their butts. Now, they've got good cars. They've got experience. They're in great shape. But they are they're walking the walk and talking the talk. They're doing both.
Yep.
They are actually very good drivers, and I think going into the season, you wouldn't have expected either the Mercedes car to have been, I don't know what we expected about the Mercedes car, but we certainly didn't expect it to be as bad as last year, and it probably wasn't as bad as 2022, but it didn't get better.
Right. It didn't feel like it got better.
Correct. And if we remember, George was beating Lewis in a lot of the races in 2022.
Yes.
George was kind of like, because Lewis had talked about how he was experimenting with the concept, trying to find the window that it was operating in. And he just kept on trying different things, trying new things, trying old things, changing the balance, he was experimenting with the car to try and find something. And George was taking a more reserved approach, racking up some points and some podiums. And I think just for me, Lewis, based on expectations, probably my number 3 driver for 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want me to go first for number 4 and 5? Just so we don't make it seem like we got the same list.
Sure. I think I have my 4 and 5, but now I'm like,
I got my 4 and 5.
All right, go ahead. All right. Go with 4.
Again, expectations. There were some great drivers. Carlos Sainz was the only one to win a race. I put him at number 4.
You think he had a better season? Sorry, I guess expectations. I guess I should say. Than Charles.
Yeah, I think Charles underperformed.
You do.
How do you get like 6 or 7 or 8 poles and then don't win a race?
Well, but you in a year where clearly there's somebody in a car that are so into. I'm not saying your answer is wrong. Mine is just the other one.
At the end of the day, the only trophy that's going to be shown in Maranello is the one that Carlos Sainz won.
That's true.
He is my number 4 driver for the season. And we can talk about both Ferrari drivers and how the team as a whole didn't perform. And I think that's the key thing. The team didn't perform. Within the team, people had decent seasons, Charles had moments of brilliance. We saw him drive the wheels, the tires off his car in multiple races. He had great single lap performance. He actually had podiums. He did many great things, but he didn't win a race. He didn't capitalize on the moments that were required. And for me, that's a big deal. Sainz is my number 4.
I think that's fair. I would have gone the other way. Charles. Clearly, Sainz did win a race, yes. But also, like you're saying, Charles was able to extract, in moments, the best out of that car. He got those poles. He had, 6 poles this year? How many other drivers outside of Red Bull got poles?
Not many.
Right.
If any.
So I think Carlos did. And that was, you could say, the one that counts, at Singapore, the one-off. But I don't know, was he pulled that race? Doesn't matter. Charles had a good year. He beat Carlos Sainz over in the season. Yes, he didn't win a race. However, he showed that he can pull the best out of that car still. And I think he is still probably the best one lap. If you needed a lap out of anybody, that's the guy you call.
Yeah.
If you're in a car that anybody's in tune with, that's the guy you want out of anybody on the grid.
Yeah.
If you need a lap, he'll get it. And he has the confidence to do it.
Unless it's Monaco.
He's had poles at Monaco.
Yeah. Yeah. He also didn't start that race.
Did he have pole there?
Yeah. Good point.
So he had I think he had a good season. Beat his teammate, had a number of poles in a year where, any other year he probably would have gotten a win, especially that Vegas race. But he's my number 4 this year.
Okay. Number 5, I'm going to go with the Aussie from Down Under, Oscar Piastri.
I think so.
As a rookie, he had a lot of hype. He performed really well in F2. coming into a weak McLaren team. He finished 9th. Yeah, you can talk about how he didn't even finish inside the top 5. That car was really bad at the beginning of the year. He grew so much throughout the season. There were points where he finished races ahead of Lando Norris. There were races where he just looked the stronger driver of those two, and Lando is a good driver. Even Sir Lewis said so. But for me, Oscar Piastri just, I think, solidly delivered on the hype that was built for him.
And that was a lot of hype.
A lot of hype. I mean, there was
with the drama with Alpine. And,
so much drama.
Yeah.
Where was he going to go? Who was he going to drive for? Whether there's going to be a lawsuit? Was Alpine going to sue? Is he going to race for Alpine? Is he going to race for McLaren? Well, he ended up racing for McLaren. He delivered on the promise of the hype. And for me, I mean, like, he had a very solid season, and I think he hasn't reached his true potential. He hasn't even, like, he's still got a lot of room between himself and the ceiling on his career.
Yeah.
For me, again.
You're all about the race winners, aren't you?
Yeah.
'Cause he did win a race.
You're right. Yeah, I got all the race winners in there except Lewis didn't win, but all the same.
Yeah. No, he had a great season. I'm going to go Albon. I think, obviously, Williams is toward the bottom. But getting 26 out of 27 points for your team consistently, well, he was the definition of consistency this year. He extracted the most out of the car in just about every scenario possible. If he was in the position to score points, he did it. If he needed to hold on to a place like in Canada, remember
that was huge.
Driving that train, there's like 6 cars behind him for 20 laps on dead tires. Guess what? He made sure he got the exit out of the long straight or out of the hairpin, took it all the way through, held it on the rest of the lap. I mean, and yeah, he did it the year before too in a worse car, but this year he really showed his talents. He brought his stock way up this year. So yeah, that's why he's my 5.
I think that's a great 5. I don't think I would have had Albon number 6 if we were doing a top
Sure.
6. Yeah.
You can say that now because
He's
we're
great.
not doing 6.
Now, Albon's great. I think you made some really good points about him. He outqualified his teammate in every single weekend. Just another big bonus.
Yep.
You're right. His stock has risen, and he's probably due for a big payday.
Yeah.
From one of the teams.
Got one more year, and we'll see what happens. If Williams needs to keep him, they're going to have to
Shell
hopefully
out
get
some
another
money.
sponsor because they're going to have to pay him some money.
Oh, please. We need more good sponsors.
We need more fun liveries with sponsors.
Next episode.
Yeah. Where's that Chipotle Haas livery? Or if that's even going to be there.
Bean powered.
Or MoneyGram.
Yeah, well, right. Okay, great question. I was going to bring that up. Will MoneyGram I think half the reason you sponsor Haas is the Netflix Steiner
Yes.
chat. You are going to see the Haas car on Netflix when they're talking about the Gunther Steiner and he's swearing up a storm. Chipotle doesn't care if they're dropping F-bombs in front of...
No, they love it probably.
No, they're just going to get more burritos.
Right.
MoneyGram, I want them to say, I want Haas to be good. I truly do. Not because of Gene Haas. I don't care for him, but there are good people there. And we do need more good liveries. The Chipotle livery would be really good. Ooh, what would that look like? Aluminum? Would it have aluminum wrap around it?
I think it's a tear off.
Of aluminum.
Correct. Of
Yes.
foil. And then on the edge you have like an open, like already bit burrito.
Ooh.
And so that's on the, what do you call it? The
Engine shroud?
Yes.
The
like
intake?
the engine cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and then you can see, there's lettuce flying and cheese coming out of it because you're driving, right? So it's going to look good.
I guess I think I need a burrito.
Who's going to Chipotle? Now sponsored by.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good livery.
See?
I like
I'm
this.
thinking, man.
Yeah.
Been thinking about this for a while. But, so yeah. It's the rest of the driver or teams. Do you want to get into some recent controversy or should we kind of save that? We already had an hour, so cruising.
Yeah, let's wrap up this week and we'll talk about it for our preview for next year.
Yeah, we can do that. Along with some livery chat.
Livery chat, race circuit chat.
Race circuit chat.
What are the best circuits in our belief?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
So yeah, I guess this has been another episode of the Pit Lane, a Formula One podcast. I've been your host, Jordan Wynn, alongside Alden K. Well, and we'll see you next time.
See you next week.
Bye.